Deep beneath Torchlight, a darkness gathered.
Torchlight II caters to the loot hound in all of us, particularly if that loot hound also enjoys compulsively clicking the screen for hours on end. Swords, helmets, and even guns fall as though a tornado swept through a Renaissance arsenal, and the experience as a whole comes wrapped in an intuitive and addictive package that harkens back to the glory days of the action RPG. In other words, it's a lot like the first Torchlight. The difference is that Torchlight II distinguishes itself by pushing the formula to its limits and tossing the package into an expanded world with 4 new classes and a robust cooperative mode. It thus plays Diablo II to Torchlight's Diablo, but is this Torchlight bright enough to outshine its predecessor?
Heroes may fall, hope may fade, but new heroes will arise.
The action starts 6 years after the events of the first game, and an animated cinematic relates how corruption drove the alchemist from the first game to destroy the village of Torchlight. You learn that it's your job to track him down in the process, but any pretensions of providing a coherent narrative break down once you enter the game itself. Perhaps rightfully, Torchlight 2 focuses more on the addictiveness of its action than the significance of its setting, to the point that the rare future cinematics feel like a nuisance, and boss fights glide past without much sense of context. Instead, it gains a distinctive mood from the world itself. Gone is Torchlight's gloomy network of caverns. Instead, Torchlight 2 teams with hundreds of side quests set among bug-infested marshes, snow-smothered mountains, and sprawling desert ruins. It's a setup that exists merely to give you some context for the hours of loot-driven massacres you'll undertake. And while it's successful in this regard, it's disappointing that Runic didn't sprinkle the varied setting with more lore.
I don't know who you are, but I'm glad you came along.
Random loot remains at the core of the Torchlight experience, and the absence of any kind of auction house renders the experience of finding loot that matches your stat and talent specialization a supremely rewarding occasion. Socketable gems drop that allow further customization, and additional versatility springs from the enchanters you'll find at settlements. These features are strong on their own merits, but Torchlight 2 pushes the concept one step further by allowing you to disenchant items or unsocket gems if they're not working out. True, you'll never use most of the junk that drops, but worthwhile items fall with such perfect pacing that each kill flirts with the possibility of a significant upgrade. That's why Torchlight 2's expertly designed levels are so welcome. Following the main storyline exclusively will only set you behind in terms of both gear and experience, so Torchlight 2 encourages you to explore every inch of its sprawling maps. The good news is that these exploratory ventures aren't plodding, boring affairs. Striking out in a random direction consistently reveals new surprises, whether they be hidden side missions that lead to ghost ships and powerful bosses, or entire enemy villages you would have missed otherwise. Torchlight 2 is also more social. You can play online with as many as 6 friends via an optional online cooperative mode. The inclusion of co-op is welcome indeed, particularly since you can choose any difficulty setting at will. But it's worth pointing out a few snags. You have to manually search for games that your friends have set up, for instance, and there's no way to tell if your friends are even online. Want to drop that awesome sword you just looted so your friend can pick it up because it's better suited for them? You can't. Instead, you'll have to open a trade window and disrupt the gameplay before they can even see what stats it has. It's a shame because playing cooperatively is so fun that you'll be tempted to avoid playing the single-player mode ever again. Torchlight 2 is as fun to play as the first Torchlight, but the experience of killing enemies and nabbing their loot benefits from improved challenges on the normal difficulty level. In other words, you'll die if you're not careful, and thus choosing a class that suits your playstyle takes on an even greater significance than before. Engineers whip out robots and associated gadgetry while doubling as lumbering sword and board tanks. Outlanders dish out ranged pain with firearms and glaives. Berserkers focus on speedy savage damage, and Ember Mages possess most of the elemental tricks of classic magic-based characters. Still, there's enough freedom to play each class as you wish, and a charge bar for special abilities that fills according to how much damage you've dealt provides a welcome reason to stay in the thick of combat.
What's your business here?
Yet the rich talent system gives the impression that there are far more than 4 classes available. It's an old-school design that grants you unlimited freedom in 3 different trees with 12 skills across a whopping 100 levels, and you can further customize your characters by pumping up to 15 skill points into an ability. Such a wide range of specialization allows you to have as many as 13 abilities in your action bar, and the freedom involved encourages hybridization. That said, it also feels limiting at times thanks to a respec system that only allows you to reset your last 3 skill points. The design encourages replays for each class to some extent, but it's also unnecessarily crippling if you've made some excessively poor decisions. The good news is that you can add respec potions that completely reset your skill points through mods or tampering with the settings files, but the popularity of this extra step makes the absence of respec potions in the core release all the more disappointing.
I thank you for your warning, but it has arrived too late.
That said, Torchlight II isn't without its conveniences. For instance, each character starts with a pet that acts as both a battle companion and an extended inventory, and you can send them off to town to sell your excess loot or have them purchase potions if you're not near one of the scattered portals. There's also a bit of lighthearted fun. Fishing pools scattered across the landscape offer a way to gain loot beyond the rote clicking of your weaponry.
You have my gratitude, mortal. Now listen closely, for a great evil is at work here.
I need your help.
Torchlight II is a beautiful game, filled with bright colors and models that complement the unabashedly cartoony aesthetic of its world. The sheer variety of visuals makes exploring every map a joy, and the musical score embellishes the experience with haunting gravity. Indeed, all of this could have succumbed to the complaints of silliness in lesser hands, but it's a credit to Runic's design that Torchlight II maintains a sense of impending doom despite its colorful visuals. If it struggles, it's in the sounds of battle itself, which fail to convey the meaty weight of impact as well as they should.
My mana is low.
The alchemist must be stopped before he attacks any more guardians.
For all of its features, Torchlight II doesn't differ significantly from its predecessor. Instead, it takes what worked and gives us those features in indulgent helpings. Despite a few fumbles with the new multiplayer option and the throwaway storyline, it's a polished adventure that easily justifies its reasonable $20 price tag. But even better, this is a game that begs for multiple playthroughs. From start to finish, Torchlight II nails all the right notes of the core loot-driven experience, thus holding its torch high for action RPGs to come.
You have become more experienced.
See this and other GT shows and game reviews on the GT Originals iOS app, available now on the App Store.